Welcome, my weird witches. You've found Raven's Lorecast, where folklore, fire, and a little fierce honesty all meet in the same cauldron. I'm Raven Lorekeeper, storyteller, witch, and your unapologetic guide through myth, magic, and all the places the world told you not to wander. This podcast exists because magic deserves to be honest, witchcraft deserves to be inclusive, and every one of us who grew up other deserves a place to finally exhale. So pour yourself something comforting, settle in, and remember, the world may not have been built for us, but the magic was. Weird ones, tonight we begin something new. Something older than me, older than the manor, older than the stories humans ever dared set to page. Every quarter, the universe opens a different door for the keeper of the lore. Some doors lead to memory, some to shadow, some to the places we aren't meant to name until we're ready to survive the naming. These doors are called the tricks. And this, episode 5, begins the first cycle of a 10-year journey. 40 doors, 40 teachings, 40 sideways truths the universe will never tell you straight on. Each trick is not a lesson. It's a lens, a way of seeing the world slantwise, the way the manor sees it. Because in this house, time doesn't behave reliably, and neither does anything else that's real. This year, we begin with the foundational 4: time, memory, naming, death. The bones beneath every myth ever told. So settle in, light something warm, take a breath, and come with me as we step through the first doorway together, the trick of time. Tonight's episode is called Raven's Trick, the Trick of Time, and you know exactly why. Because some evenings don't feel like hours stacked in a row. They feel like a doorway. They feel like that thin silver shimmer between one heartbeat and the next, where everything slows just enough for you to wonder if time is watching you for a change. If you've ever had a moment that tasted like deja vu and prophecy mixed together, that's the place we're meeting tonight. Take a breath with me. In and out. Let the clocks fall away. Let the calendar hush. Let the world stop pretending it understands the rules of this place. Because the secret of tonight, the trick of time, is simple. Magic only happens in the space where logic hesitates, where intuition steps forward, where breath meets possibility. You've been here before. In dreams you swear predicted something. In conversations that felt like you'd already had them. In decisions that felt older than you are. Tonight, we're walking straight into that spiral. Not forward, not backward, but inward. Where time curves like smoke and memory loosens its grip. So settle in. The fire's warm. The clock has stopped ticking, and we're about to step into a story that only makes sense when you stop trying to measure it. Welcome to the breath between moments. Let's begin. Time is a funny creature. We act like it's this rigid, obedient thing, all straight lines and numbered boxes. But anyone who's ever fallen in love, grieved a loss, cast a spell, or stared too long at the moon knows better. Time bends. Time stretches. Time skips like an old vinyl record when the universe wants to get your attention. And the older I get, the more I realize that the clock is a courtesy, not a law. It's like the universe's polite little suggestion. Here, darling, try not to lose track of yourself. But witches? We've always known time is a spiral, a loop, a rhythm, a tide. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's discuss time as memory, time as pattern, and time as magic. Every culture on Earth has tried to understand time, mostly because humans can't stand the idea that anything might be bigger than us. But the truth? The one mystics and hedge witches and old grandmothers have always whispered is this: time is not a straight road. It's a path we walk again and again, each loop bringing us deeper. Think of it like this: seasons. We return to winter every year, but we aren't the same people we were the last time the cold set in. We're a little wiser, a little more scarred, a little more alive. Same season, different version of you. Or think of how grief works. It doesn't move in a line from pain to healing. It circles. It spirals. It comes back in softer, smaller waves until one day you realize it's not crushing you anymore. It's shaping you. That's the spiral. That's witch time. Here is the ancient way of knowing time. Long before clocks, people told time by the world itself. By the moon, waxing and waning like breath. By the sunrise, marching across the horizon each season. By harvests and rains. By the migration of birds. By the blooming of certain flowers. By instinct. By body. And of course, by shadow. Our ancestors didn't think of time as something you lost or wasted. Time wasn't a possession. It was a companion, a force to work with, not fight against. The Celts saw time as circular, always returning to the sacred center. The Maya saw time as nested calendars, cycles within cycles, cosmic gears interlocking. The Hindus imagined time as vast ages, each turning like a colossal wheel. The Dene, who colonizers called Navajo, saw time not as past and future, but as motion, relationship, unfolding. And witches? We watched the moon, always the moon, because she is the perfect mirror of us, changing, returning, disappearing, becoming. Let's talk about witch time versus clock time. Clock time is the voice that says, you're running late, you're falling behind, you should have figured this out by now. Witch time says, you arrive exactly when the spell is ready. Clock time tells you growth is linear. Witch time tells you growth is seasonal. Clock time says endings are final. Witch time says endings are thresholds. Clock time says life is small. Witch time says life is layered. And the moment you understand that difference, everything softens. Everything opens. Everything starts to make sense. Let's discuss time as a trickster teacher. Time isn't just a force, it's a personality. And trust me, it loves messing with us. Ever had a moment stretch forever? A kiss that felt like an hour? a night that felt like a lifetime. Ever blink and suddenly it's been 5 years since that big heartbreak? 10 years since the moment you still replay in dreams? 20 years since the version of you who thought she'd never survive something. And look at her now. Alive. Glorious. Still fighting. Still here. That's the trick of time. It collapses when the soul is paying attention. It expands when the soul needs space. And sometimes, when your intuition is loud enough, it steps aside completely. That's why we get déjà vu. Why prophetic dreams feel more like memories. Why certain places crack us open the moment we step into them. Why our ancestors feel close during certain seasons, or certain nights, or certain breaths. We call it magic. Physicists call it nonlinear time. Same thing, really. What is the spiral in practice? Let me tell you something. Nana used to say to me when we were sitting at her tiny kitchen table, sipping chamomile and listening to rain hit the roof. Baby, life doesn't move forward, life moves inward. Forward is just the direction your feet go. At the time, I thought she was speaking in riddles. Now I know she was describing the spiral. Every year at Samhain, you meet your grief again. Every Imbolc, you meet your hope again. Every Beltane, your desire. Every Yule, your resilience. It's not repetition. It's refinement. It's you meeting yourself again and again, each time a little closer to the truth. That's why certain lessons keep returning. That's why certain patterns won't leave you alone. Time isn't punishing you. It's insisting you spiral deeper. Let's talk about the clock versus the spiral and why you feel so pulled lately. When you feel pressure, when you feel behind, when you feel like everyone else is ahead of you, that's clock time trying to dominate the narrative. But when you feel déjà vu, when synchronicities start stacking up, when you suddenly understand something you've struggled with for years, that's the spiral speaking. One is external, one is ancestral. One demands productivity, one invites presence. One is human-made, one is cosmic. And both are happening at once. But only one leads you back to magic. What is your place in the spiral? Here's the truth, whispered gently. You aren't late. You aren't early. You are exactly where your story needed you to be. If time feels strange to you right now, if the days blur or stretch, if your intuition feels unusually loud, you're not imagining it. You're aligning. You're waking up to the rhythm beneath the rhythm. And here's a secret I'll tell you quietly, weird ones. Time in the manor does not behave the way it does outside. There are nights when the candles burn down twice, but the hour never changes. There are mornings where I swear I hear the echo of footsteps I haven't taken yet. And sometimes, only sometimes, the whole house exhales the past into the present, and I know I'm standing in more than one moment at once. It doesn't frighten me. It shouldn't frighten you. Time bends around magic the way rivers bend around stones, naturally, inevitably, patiently. And if you listen long enough, you learn that the spiral is not a metaphor. It's a map. The trick of time isn't about breaking rules. It's about remembering the ones your soul was born knowing. Cycles, seasons, return, depth, becoming. You're not running out of time. You're traveling deeper into it. The spiral is already moving. You're already on the path. And tonight, you're learning to walk it with your eyes open. All right, my weird ones, come with me. Not outside with your body, outside with your awareness. Because tonight's sky isn't just pretty. It's not background decor for your problems. It's not a glittery ceiling fan turning for no reason. Tonight's sky is a clock that doesn't tell time like humans do. It tells time the way magic does. In spirals. In echoes. In recurring themes that come back around. Not to punish you, but to ask, did you learn it yet? Did you choose yourself yet? Did you stop abandoning your own knowing yet? And December 28th, 2025, she's one of those nights. Let's start with the moon, because she's loud tonight. We're under a waxing gibbous moon, a brightening moon, swollen with momentum, building toward fullness. This is the part of the lunar cycle where you can feel things growing teeth. Not in a scary way, in a clarifying way. Waxing gibbous energy isn't subtle. It's the phase that says, you've had the idea, you've had the insight, you've had the inner knowing. Now what are you going to do with it? And she's moving through Aries, the sign of spark, selfhood, initiation, the holy troublemaker that refuses to wait for permission. So emotionally, this moon doesn't want you processing forever. She wants you choosing. Aries moon nights can feel like impatience with old patterns, sudden bravery, heat in the chest, restlessness that's really just truth trying to move. If time is a spiral, Aries is the moment in the spiral where you stop narrating your pain and start rewriting the plot. Now look at what's holding the whole sky upright tonight. The sun is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is the builder, the architect, the one who turns dreams into structures that can survive weather. And Mars is also in Capricorn tonight, close enough to add heat, fuel, ambition, and stop stalling energy. Not a perfect exact conjunction, so we don't need to claim that. But it's still a stacked Capricorn sky, and that matters. Because Capricorn doesn't care about your vision board. Capricorn asks, what are you doing every day? What is your discipline? What pattern are you repeating? What are you building that your future self can actually live inside? So here's the tension and the magic. Moon in Aries says start now. Sun and Mars in Capricorn says start it right. Aries lights the match. Capricorn builds the hearth. And the spiral of time, the theme of this episode, lives right there. You don't escape cycles by wishing. You escape cycles by building new rails for your life to run on. Now let's talk about the planet that makes people feel like they're losing their mind when they do research. Jupiter. Here's what's true at the same time. Astronomically, Jupiter is appearing in the constellation Gemini. Bright, obvious, impossible to miss. Astronomy sites will say Jupiter in Gemini. Astrologically, going by the tropical zodiac, Jupiter is in Cancer tonight. That's not an error. That's two different maps. And honestly, for this episode, The Trick of Time, it's perfect. Because the whole trick is this. Reality is layered. And the map you use changes what you think is true. Jupiter in Cancer, according to astrology, expands memory, home, ancestry, emotional needs, and the places you're tender. While Jupiter showing up in Gemini, according to astronomy, looks like the mind, language, duality, two truths at once, the twin road. So Jupiter is basically standing there like, congratulations, you are now advanced enough to hold paradox. And if you can hold paradox, time stops being a prison. Saturn tonight is in Pisces, according to astrology. And Saturn in Pisces is important for dream work, intuition, and the liminal. Because Pisces is ocean, Saturn is container. So Saturn in Pisces is the question, how do you give your spirituality structure without strangling it? How do you have mystical experiences without dissolving into escapism? How do you honor your intuition without letting it become chaos? For a time spiral episode, Saturn in Pisces is the reminder that your cycles aren't just spiritual, they're behavioral. They're nervous system patterns. They're choices you keep making because the old story is familiar. Saturn says, put a boundary around what drains you. Pisces says, but keep your heart open. That's the work. Uranus is in Taurus tonight. Uranus is the shock, the awakening, the suddenly you can't unsee it. Taurus is the body, the money, the survival systems, the physical world. So Uranus in Taurus is the cosmic disruption of the material timeline. It says, you can't keep living like this. Your body is keeping score. Your values are shifting. Your old definition of safety is outdated. This is where the spiral gets real. Sometimes the same lesson again returns because your life is finally stable enough to survive the upgrade. Neptune is also in Pisces, right at the tail end of the sign. That's big dream energy, big fog energy, big psychic sensitivity. And on nights like this, you have to remember, Neptune doesn't just bring visions. It brings projection. So if you're feeling emotionally porous tonight, if you're reading meaning into everything, if your brain is turning everything into an omen, that's Neptune. The move isn't to shut it down. The move is to ground it, which brings us back to the theme. Because you can't do an episode called The Trick of Time and not give people something they can actually do. So here's your tiny ritual for tonight. No tools required. Place one hand on your chest, one on your lower belly. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. Repeat that 3 times. Then say aloud, I release the version of time that punishes me. I return to the spiral that teaches me. I keep the lesson and I let the pain go. And then, this part matters, ask one question. What is the lesson I keep meeting in different disguises? Don't force an answer. Just let your nervous system hear you ask it. Because Aries moon will push. Capricorn sun will build. And the sky will keep spiraling until you stop calling the lesson a curse. So here's the headline, weird ones. This is not a sky for passive wishing. This is a sky for pattern recognition and bold course correction. Waxing gibbous in Aries says stop waiting to feel ready. Capricorn says build it in a way that lasts. Pisces says keep your soul intact while you do it. And Jupiter, split between maps, reminds you, 2 things can be true. You can be healing and still angry. You can be brave and still afraid. You can be becoming and still grieving what you were. Time isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. And tonight, the spiral is offering you a cleaner turn. All right, take one more breath with me. And when you're ready, we'll step back into the hearth and anchor this lesson where it belongs. In the body, in the breath, in the life you're building on purpose. Come back to the hearth, baby cakes. We've wandered far tonight, through memory, timing, the strange shape of destiny, and now it's time to put your hands around something warm, something that brings you back into your breath. We're making temporal tea, a grounding brew designed for clarity, flow, and that quiet kind of untangling that only happens when you finally stop sprinting ahead of yourself. This isn't complicated magic. You don't need a wall of herbs or a copper cauldron. You just need heat, breath, stillness, and a little willingness to steep. Because that's really what this tea teaches. Stillness that moves you. Here are the ingredients and their intent. Gather 1 chamomile tea bag or 1 tablespoon of loose chamomile, a pinch of dried lavender, a few slices of fresh ginger, a strip of lemon or orange peel, a drizzle of honey or agave, a sprinkle of cinnamon, and if you've got it, a tiny pinch of rosemary. Why these ingredients? Well, chamomile quiets the mind, anchors the breath. Lavender smooths emotional static. Ginger wakes the inner fire without speeding you up. Citrus peel breaks stagnant patterns, clears pathways. Honey softens the heart. Cinnamon moves energy that's gotten stuck. And rosemary clears mental clutter and strengthens memory. Together, they make a tea that quite literally listens to you. Now it's time for the brew. Here is the step-by-step spell work. Fill a small pot and heat it until it's steaming but not boiling. We're not punishing these herbs, we're inviting them. Add the ginger slices first. Give them a full 2 minutes to steep on their own. Ginger is the timekeeper of this blend. Steady, honest, predictable. Let it start the conversation. Next, add your lavender and citrus peel. They'll float around like they're late for something. They aren't. Let them learn the pace of hot water. Add your chamomile last. Watch it open. Slow, tender, almost shy. Let everything simmer together on low heat for 3 to 5 minutes. You'll know it's ready by scent. Floral, warm, citrus bright, and calm. Pour your brew through a strainer into your favorite mug, the one that feels like a hug in ceramic form. Add your honey or agave, then finish with a whisper of cinnamon and the tiniest pinch of rosemary. Stir slowly. Let the steam warm your face. Let the world soften around the edges. The spell is hidden in the steam. Every Kitchen Witch recipe carries an emotional lesson. Tonight's is this: time changes shape when you do. This tea knows how to soothe without sedating, move energy without rushing, remind you that rest and motion aren't opposites, they're dance partners. Take your first sip. Feel the ginger warming your chest, the chamomile softening your shoulders, lavender easing the tight corners of your thoughts. This is the kind of magic that asks you to notice yourself. Where am I tense? What am I holding that isn't mine? What am I afraid I'll drop if I slow down? What am I afraid I'll face if I do? Sometimes the hardest spell is letting stillness find you. As you drink, imagine time curling around you like a soft spiral staircase, not trapping you, but guiding you inward, sip by sip, breath by breath, step by step. You're descending into yourself. You're returning to the version of you who isn't ruled by clocks or panic or urgency. Let the tea reteach you what you already know. Your pace is sacred. Your timing is valid. Your unfolding is exact. And if someone tries to rush you, hand them a mug of this and let the herbs do the talking. When only one sip remains, whisper into the steam. Time moves through me, not past me. I am the flow. I am in my season. I return to myself. Let the final sip be the anchor. Let the warmth settle into your bones. Let the stillness take root. Tonight, bright ones, you steeped yourself back into clarity. Here we are again, my sweeties. The end of another circle. The last warm sip of the night. The moment where breath slows and time settles around us like a soft cloak. We've wandered through spirals and sky maps, through memories and mysteries, through the strange little cracks where time slips sideways and reveals what it's really made of. And now we're here, in that quiet place where the lesson lands. If you learned anything tonight, let it be this. Time isn't something you chase. It's something you meet. And you've met it tonight, gently, bravely, honestly. You remembered the spiral inside you. You remembered that beginnings aren't linear and endings aren't failures. You remembered that your timing isn't late or early. It's sacred. It's intentional. It's yours. Take a moment to notice what softened in you. Maybe your jaw unclenched. Maybe your heart loosened its grip on something old. Maybe you realized you've been sprinting on a path meant to be walked. Maybe, just maybe, you felt that tiny sense of homecoming that only arrives when you stop measuring life by minutes and start measuring it by meaning. And if you didn't feel any of that, that's fine too. Sometimes the magic works quietly. Sometimes it seeps in after you've forgotten you were even looking for it. But trust me, something shifted. It always does. Tonight, you stepped into the breath between moments. Tonight, you remembered how to listen to yourself. Tonight, you sat with time instead of letting it chase you through your own life. Carry that with you. Let it settle in your bones. Let it rearrange the parts of you that have been craving a gentler rhythm. And this weird one's was the first of the tricks. Every season, the manor will open another door. Memory in quarter 2, naming in quarter 3, death in quarter 4, and I'll meet you there, lantern in hand, to show you what the universe whispers between the lines. 40 doors in all, 40 truths that don't behave like truths until you tilt your head and squint at them sideways. So leave this place tonight knowing that time is not your enemy, not your ruler, not your cage. Time is a doorway, and we have only just stepped inside. And if this episode made you think or feel or breathe a little easier, share it. Tell your friends. Invite them into the spiral with you. Magic grows best in company. Until next time, weird ones, may your days stretch where they need to. May your hours soften when they must. and may your life unfold in the exact rhythm your soul remembers. Wit, wisdom, witchcraft. See you next time. Thank you, my weird witches, for giving me a little of your time and your beautiful attention today. If this episode stirred something in you, a memory, a spark, a question, a fire, please share it. Spread the word. That's how our circle grows. You can find me on socials at Ravens Lorecast on Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky, and at Ravens_lore_cast on Instagram and Threads. And if you've got a question, a story, a spellcraft request, or just the world's cutest familiar photo, email me at raven@ravenslorecast.com. I really do read them. Until next time, keep your fire tended, your humor wicked, and your heart brave and wide open. This is Raven Lorekeeper, signing off with love, grit, and a whisper of magic on your path.